now. A haunted, haunted, I'm a haunted house. A haunted, haunted house. If you'll just let it out. A haunted, haunted, I'm a haunted house. Broken windows and a warning scribbled on my wall saying that you better turn around. Wouldn't be the first to try to burn me down. Your move, you do. Would you love me at my worst? Till the coffin's in the dirt. Try to break me like a curse. You know that will never work. I'm a little bit absurd. I like dancing on the verge. Anyone can love a pretty little mansion, but could you love a haunted, haunted house? Or could you love me now? A haunted, haunted, I'm a haunted house. A haunted, haunted house. If you'll just take it out. A haunted, haunted, I'm a haunted house. Could you love a haunted, haunted house? Or could you love me now? A haunted, haunted, I'm a haunted house. A haunted, haunted house. If you're just taking sides. A haunted, haunted, I'm a haunted house. Words till the coffin's in the dirt. Anyone can love a pretty little mansion.
I live inside my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in the cradles, profanities. I see the world through eyes covered in ink and bleach. Cross out the ones who heard my cries and watched me weep. I love everything. Fire spreading all around my room. My world's so bright, it's hard to breathe, but that's alright. Hush. Take my eyes open to force reality. Why can't you just let me eat my weight in glee? I live inside my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in their cradles, profanities. Some days I feel skinnier than all the other days. Sometimes I can't tell if my body belongs to me. I love everything. Fire spreading all around my room. My world's so bright, it's hard to breathe, but that's alright. Hush. Content, hold your breath and feel the tension. Devils hide behind redemption. Honesty is a one-way gate to hell. I wanna taste consumption. Breathe faster to waste oxygen. Hear the children sing aloud.
I think fast.
Van harte welkom bij ronde 5 van de Zwift Grand Prix. Vandaag trekken onze jongens naar Schotland voor 1 ronde op de Muckle Yin. Momenteel staan we nog altijd aan de leiding. Er zijn 7 wedstrijden af te leggen. Dit is de laatste wedstrijd van dit jaar. De 2 volgende wedstrijden zijn in januari. We hopen het goed te doen. We gaan naar een puntenkoers kijken. Ik ga eventjes met u overlopen. Dit was de uitslag van de tijdrit 2 weken geleden. Dat was, ja, op zich kunnen we niet zeggen dat het slecht was. Jammer genoeg hadden we iets meer verhoopt. We werden 7e en we hadden toch gehoopt minstens top 5 te houden. Het verschil tussen de derde plek en de 8e plek was op zich maar 6 seconden. Dus het zat wel heel dicht bij elkaar. Op naar de volgende, laten we dan zeggen. Dat is dan vandaag. U ziet het, algemeen klassement, nog altijd toch wel 11 punten voor. Dat waren er 20. Ik hoop dat na vandaag we terug op die 20 terechtkomen. Dat zou willen zeggen dat we vandaag uitpakken met een nieuwe overwinning. Dat zou dan de 4e overwinning van de 5 wedstrijden zijn. We hopen erop, we gaan ervoor. We zien wel zo meteen. Het parcours van de dag, de Muckle Yin zoals gezegd, in Schotland. Op zich is het parcours qua hoogtemeters niet super zwaar, maar door de tussensprints die er gaan zijn, gaat het sowieso een hele lastige wedstrijd worden. Laten we even kijken naar het profiel. Ziet u dat? We beginnen met Breakaway Bray, dat is de eerste sprint. Vrij vlak, licht oplopend. Van de Breakaway Bray gaan we dan eigenlijk naar het lastigste stuk van heel deze ronde. Dat is de Skur. De Skur gaan we langs de 2 kanten doen, net zoals de Breakaway Bray, die gaan we ook langs de 2 kanten doen. En dan heel op het einde, als we dan Glasgow terug binnenrijden, dan gaan we naar de Champion Sprint. De kikker, gelijk dat we zeggen als we daar aan het rijden zijn. Dus een kleine opkant van een 300-tal meter, die toch wel boven de 10% gaat. Maar eens daarboven, dan is het in een razende draf bergaf, voornamelijk naar de finish. Hoe zit het met de punten? 5 sprints, punten voor de eerste 10, van 10 tot 1. Enkel fastest through the segment, FAL, fastest across the line wil dat zeggen. Dus eerste over de streep komen is 10 punten. De FTS, zoals in de ZRL gekend is, die hebben ze afgelast voor de Zwift Grand Prix. Wegens te moeilijk om te begrijpen, ook voor de kijkers die er niet van op de hoogte zijn hoe dat systeem werkt. Dus enkel FAL voor onze renners en finishpunten. We gaan eventjes overschakelen naar Zwift en dan kom ik zo dadelijk nog bij u terug.
This circuit in Scotland. This is a completely different proposition to the scratch race we had last week, isn't it? As we've just talked about, as Hannah's described, very little opportunity for these riders to recover because these points come thick and fast. So it's going to be a completely different style of racing and tactical play as well.
It is going to be aggressive. It's going to be hard. You know, teams can't wait for the finish. Every single point counts. So I'm really excited to be watching the racing today and not going through the pain myself.
Are you going to be in direct communication with any of the Coalition Alpha team? Could you give us any tidbits on their tactics?
All I know is that they have taken inspiration from our girls team over the last few weeks. So I think they're going to be super aggressive. I think they're going to make the race hard. And I'm really looking forward to seeing them get out there and hopefully perform really well.
Brilliant stuff. Well, Lou, we'll be talking to you at multiple points throughout the race. Thanks very much. We'll see you in a bit. But Hannah, shall we kick things off and look at our first page of the 16 teams that are going to be racing tonight?
Let's do it. First up in 16th place is Prix Race Without Borders. The 3 Irishmen are joined by Jacob Anderson, the British rider. Alongside him is Tadej Sedar. They'll be looking to try and get some more points on the board and try and close in perhaps to 15th, 14th position to overtake Deepak Elite. As we move on to them, they've got Daniel Pettinger as their sports director, but I'm full of admiration for these riders who are also racing and as a sports director for their team. You've got the Austrian there. Alongside him is Ed Morgan, Ben McKee, Fabien de Avola and Tom Burms, the 2 Belgian riders. Foudre Punchers Coalition, the team that were new into the series First time debut appearance within the Zwift Grand Prix. The 4 Frenchmen are joined by the Belgian Alexis Larocque, their 14th overall. As we move on to Team Castelli, the Italian squad, with 13th place overall currently. They've got Nathan Guerra back within their squad, the 4 Italians joined by the rider from the USA. Now, Matt, I'm intrigued to see how they'll get on because Nathan came into this with some great form into the Grand Prix. We know he was injured a couple of weeks ago. After a little bit of rest, recovery, what can his input do for the round 5?
Well, definitely. You did have some great form. We'll see how he recovers. He's certainly a tactical genius as well as a very strong rider. But yeah, we wait with bated breath. Let's have a look at the rest of the teams. The next page, Restart, currently sitting in at 12th place. The 2 Brits, the 2 Americans and a Canadian in a team managed by Stephen Pink there. They're currently sitting in at 12th position. Team Swedish Swifters, one of the teams that's almost one of the founding teams of the WTRL. Pretty much every single race that we have had the pleasure in commentating, they have been involved. They currently sit just outside the top 10 there in 11th place. Watch out for Jakob Björklund tonight in the all-Swedish team, BL13. They're having a pretty solid campaign so far, sitting there in 10th place. They're going to really have to work together as a collective if they're going to move into the actual top 10 itself. And then Saris, they were looking to move up today, and they've got some very powerful riders, including the former esports champion of the United States of America, Holden Comieux, who'll be leading that team. Watch out as well for Matt Gardner and David Tolbert, both riders who really pack a punch, and that's the attributes that you need on a circuit like this today.
When you take a look at Movistar, they're 8th overall in the series. The 5 riders, very international flavour within that squad. And now I think this is a great opportunity for them to try and gain some points, move up the standings. And a points race is right down their alley. So watch out for Movistar this evening, led by Anna Delana. Beast Mode powered by Rose, the German team. The 4 German riders joined by the rider from the USA, Ben Nordstrom. Of course, always led by Seb Wolf, a very experienced sports director in Zwift. Then we move on to Toyota Elite, 6th overall in the series. Watch out for this team. They'll got work on their hands, I think, but watch out for Martin Mertens. He always thrives in a points race, the German rider. Then Hexagon, for me, one of the standout teams, the French team. They're 5th overall, the 3 Frenchmen joined by the 2 riders from Belgium.
Zoals u daar net even kon horen, sta ik ook in rechtstreeks contact met de jongens vandaag.
A shadow of a doubt, I think it's fair to say, Hannah, one of the revelations of the season. They're a new team. Let's have a look at our final page. 2 minutes to go before we kick things off tonight in Scotland. Coalition Alpha, you're looking at the top 4 teams on the GC, as it were, at the moment. Coalition Alpha, an exceptionally strong team. Any one of those riders could win this individually, but as we were saying before, this is all about riding as a collective and accumulating as many points. And what a lineup for Coalition Alpha. Jones, Bengston, Kaminski, Segerbrook, and of course Lionel Vujasan. Both, all of these riders stalwarts and exceptionally strong, led by Reece Howell. Next, currently in 3rd, another multinational team, Richie Barry, Brian Duffy, Nicky Hug, Zatner and Dan Turek. Duffy and Hug know what it's like to win at this level as well. Wahoo Cole, led by Hugh Davis, the DS there. Of course, our expert in residence last week. He'll be trying to guide his team to success. Of course, amongst their number, we'll be looking out for the rainbow bands, the rainbow jersey of Bjorn Andreasen, the Danish rider who took his crown on this very course in the 3-round World Championship, which we had a few months ago. He's augmented by Chris Dawson, the popular Teppo Olorio, and Hugo Vuillot. And finally, the all-Belgian lineup. They're leading. They've had a real dominant performance over the last few weeks. They ride as a real collective. But their standout rider has to be Lennart Turgels. He is an absolute engine. Watch out for him today to let loose and let rip, ably backed up by his teammates. So, half a minute to go, Hannah. I cannot wait to see how this one unfolds. They'll get a power up very, very early on. The first climb that they'll kick up is the breakaway break, then the Sugo Summit North, breakaway break again from another direction, Sugo Summit South, then the Clyde kicker, the final opportunity to score points. That comes with only 1,700 metres to go before the finish after 20.
Vertrokken. Ziet daar in de verte de banner al. Daar zal de eerste power-up komen. De draft one, als ik het goed heb. Ik geef het woord weer eventjes door aan YouTube.
The rider from Finland.
There's a few little splits early on. You can just see that big power because of the short distance here, because of the distribution of the points out on the circuit. This sort of race could favour somebody trying to go early. If you get in a breakaway early on, and we do actually have 5 riders, Loriot, Lindbom, Noren, Matt Gardner and Corrigan from Saris Nopins all out in front. So that little early attack, I don't think I've ever seen a breakaway go so early. Was this a mistake? Was this a ploy? This is fascinating stuff. They've only got 2.5 seconds, but what they don't want to do, or the bunch behind, is give these riders too much of an early advantage. What a very aggressive start we got here.
An aggressive start, and it's all smiles for Teppo Lorio. You can just see him there, picture in picture. He's obviously in good form here. And now it's almost ironic because over the last few weeks, Matt, we've been talking about how the starts of a Zwift race have changed over the years. You know, we always used to liken it to perhaps a cyclocross start or a mountain bike start. And I feel like over the last couple of years, that's changed, and the evolution of the racing has changed in terms of those really hard, fast starts. And with tonight's course, that was certainly a big effort from a handful of riders there.
Voordat je aan dat rondpunt komt, Sevens, kun je de power-up al gebruiken. Want je krijgt net na het rondepunt een feather. En de feather hou je dan beter voor de breakaway Prix en niet voor dat klimmetje aan dat kasteel.
There used to be lots of riders used to get dropped very early on. We're talking about that 1 minute power, the all important 1 minute power in Zwift. Racing on Zwift is one of the key attributes. So we ask all of these athletes what, if anybody from the community is looking to improve on their game in Zwift, it's improving that 1 minute power. But as you said, it's a little bit more of a gradual start, still relatively explosive, but not quite. It's a far more nuanced set of way of racing as we're looking at Pim van Diemen. This man is a monster. He really, really is. He's won big. He's won some Zwift Grand Prix races in the past. As we're going up this little bit of a drag, another couple of attacks on the front. Let's actually bring in Lou for the first time. Lou, a very aggressive start. Do you think that was a predetermined plan, or do you just think it was a couple of few riders just a little bit over keen at the start there?
No, it will have been planned. The Glasgow circuit actually is a really good one to go hard out of the gate because it's very twisty. And once riders get a gap, then if they're out of sight, you know, that means that they've got a real advantage with that breakaway. So no, I wasn't actually surprised to see that at all.
Well, there we go. Thank you very much indeed, Lou. There's lots. So this is the first deployment of the power-ups. And the first one is the draft. We then move on to the feather, steamroller, anvil, steamroller, and back to the anvil again. Make sure you use the anvil at the right time. But this is a very fast race indeed. 23.7 Ks, the total distance. The first of the climbs we actually get to with 13.7 Ks to go. But before that, we'll be heading up the breakaway Bray reverse, where we'll get our first opportunity to score some points. Everybody deploying their draft power up at exactly the same time, Hannah.
They are, because it's only a few kilometres before they'll have the opportunity to get another power up, and that being the feather power up, which they can use on the climb on the way on the reverse breakaway Bray. So Pim van Diemen just off the front here, a second or just over a second and a half. It's Burms, the Belgian rider, who's chasing things down from Deepak Elite currently. But he looks like he's settled into a nice rhythm here, Pim van Diemen, the rider from Movistar. And as I said before, I think this race, round 5 here of the Grand Prix, is a great opportunity for Movistar to try and move themselves up the series standings, move up that leaderboard from 8th overall, back into potentially that top 5, where they've got a strong team, and we've spoken at great length of how important it is for all 5 riders to contribute, to be picking up those points consistently and making sure that you use each of your your 5 riders to the maximum that you can.
Of course, communication as well. We talk week in, week out about communication, whether it's points race, a scratch race, or a team time trial. But because of the frenetic nature, the distribution of the points here, you know, if a rider's not feeling very well, they need to say so they can be factored into the game plan. As we heard from Lou, everybody will have a game plan here. There will be a little bit of overlap with other teams. Of course, everybody wants to score as many points as possible. Only one team can ultimately do that. Only one team can score the most points. But it is fascinating today. You're going to have to be quick thinking, quick-witted. And I think one of the key interesting factors for me today.
Oké jongens, power-up hier bijhouden. Inzetten. Houd je voor de breakaway brace even.
Big difference. Now we've got the first intermediate points classification, or sprint should I say, coming at 17.7 Ks to go, at 6 Ks in, that breakaway bray. Let's bring Lou in again and just see what Lou thinks. Can you just break down a little bit the importance, how important you think the steamroller power-up will play on today's course?
Well, funny you should say that, Matt, but actually in the Grand Prix racing, our bikes are neutralized, and therefore the rolling resistance of the road surface is also neutralized. So that steamroller is going to have a big effect in the Community League, but a lesser effect in this Grand Prix race. So I could actually see riders holding onto the feather, going through the breakaway bray, and not actually using the steamroller at all.
Right, well, thank you very much. A good, important bit of insight there. So that's, again, you can hold on to the power-ups. You don't.
We gaan nu in de afdaling en dan zelfs voorbij het kruispunt. Als je op je linkerkant een huis ziet met een kamionetje, daar begint de effectieve sprint. Niet panikeren, gebruik je verder in het begin, want het laatste stukje is vlak. En gewoon in de groep blijven zitten.
Sprints, and the first one coming up very shortly. And just look at the pace at the front of the bunch now. It is Jade Morrissey of a Prix Race Without Borders leading on the front, really trying to line things out. Cunningham from Scotland there.
Hier begint het dus.
The Scottish man sitting in a second position there for Restart, powered by Alex Coe, coming through to that sprint.
Niet te zot, hè? Gewoon blijven. Spaar je voor service.
Flurry of power-ups being used.
And this is interesting because some riders not only have held their feather power up back, but also held their draft power up into this intermediate sprint. Take a look at this. Nordstrom leading out for Beast Mode, powered by Rose.
Okay.
Jockum's on the wheel.
Goed gedaan. Hopelijk bekomen we dat niet, hè, Seves? 2 man in de punten, denk ik. Rinus en Lennart.
Just the optimum deployment. It looks like it was Holden Comier who took the maximum
Maximaal recupereren nu, hè. Het gaat rap komen nu, hè.
power, and the world champion Andreasen did pick out Holden Comier to use that
Lennart 5 punten, Rinus 4 punten.
by Saris there. As you can just see on the left-hand side, Lennart Turgle's also up in the mix. Teppo Lorio scoring a point as well. Well, a couple of points, should I say. And that big acceleration has caused a few splits already, Hannah. There's some riders just struggling. And that was the first sprint. We've still got 4 more to go. And the finish line itself too.
Rustig achteraan, hè. Alles komt terug samen hier.
And especially going into that first intermediate.
Jasper, houd je kalm. Tot de schuur.
Lot of work to do now to try and close the gap, to try and get yourself back into the pack, because where some riders here at the front are now taking some moments for recovery, some respite, the others who are now distanced and dropped, they're still working and not getting that opportunity to get some recovery before the next intermediate sprint arises. But take a look at this, man. Pim van Diemen once again off the front. He's clearly showing that he's got some fantastic form. Here, the Dutchman for Movistar as it's closed back together by the rider from Czech.
Denk eraan, hè. Steamroller niet direct gebruiken van in het begin, hè. Ik geef aan wanneer, tenzij dat je zelf ondervindt dat je hem echt nodig hebt.
That was for sure. I can also see the rainbow bands there. I'm wondering how the world champion is feeling on a course that led him to wearing that jersey. Scattered leaves here on the circuit as they continue to head towards the next intermediate sprint. The next one on the menu today will be the Segura Summit North.
Je ziet het rondepunt al liggen, hè. In de verte. Daar gaan we rechts en dan begint het, hè.
The sort of rider.
Laat de Lennart maar het voortouw nemen, hè.
You need someone that's super versatile. I mean, the climbs here are quite short, especially for these guys because they've just got so much power. So probably the longest climbs, maybe 2.5 minutes for these guys. But you need somebody who can do that and then go again and again and again with really short recovery. Because even just trying to sit in and not go for points, this is still a super hard effort for every segment.
Do you think we'll see some teams just almost riding like a negative split, making sure they don't get dropped, but actually wait, not participate in the earlier sprints, but then go for it on the climbs and try and make a selection so they...
Oké, jongens, good luck hè. Hier naar rechts en dan gaan we beginnen hè. 2,5 minuut op de tanden bij.
It would be a good tactic to attack as a team on the climb because you are going to know when you're going to go and you're going to try and break things up.
Lennart, pak het voortouw en probeer het te volgen allemaal hè. Zolang als je kunt.
Coming up.
Well, it's not long at all. You can just see now, just moving over onto the cobblestones across the bridge, and the climb coming up very shortly indeed. The next climb on the menu today is the Segura Summit North. That comes at 10 k's in. That's with 13.7 k's to go, and they're absolutely rocketing. As we can see, a few of the riders are...
Nog wachten hè, met de steamroller.
Power up. Of course, they probably want the anvil down the other side because they'll be scoring points and getting a new power up over the top as we head onto the climb now. This is a tough climb.
De steamroller pas na de volgende rechtse bocht. Dus nu nog niet, maar de volgende rechtse bocht. Daarna kun je de steamroller inzetten. Ik ga wel zeggen wanneer.
It does. And it's one of the longer climbs within this course too. It's 1.6 kilometers long, an average gradient.
Het begint al te rekken hè. Het tweede deel gaat belangrijk zijn hè. Nu nog niet hè.
Because at points it's much steeper than that, and with the it's difficult to get into a rhythm. And I think for these riders who've used their steamroller early, and you can see just at the back of the pack there, a big flurry of steamroller power-ups just being used. And this power-up...
Oké, bekend hè. Wacht nog even wachten. Ja, nu inzetten. Oké, en net na de bocht komt er een steil kniksje. Hè. Even uw RPM verhogen, net voor de steil kniksje. Even verhogen nu. Goed, kom op hè, Jasper, volhouden hè. Lennart ook. Kom op hè, Jasper. Met 2 erbij voor de moment hè. Kom op hè, Jasper. Je kunt dat hè, volgen hè, Jasper. Kom op hè, top 3 voor Jasper. Kom op Lennart, jij kunt ook nog in de top 10 eindigen. Kom op Lennart. Kom op, je kunt er nog 2 pakken. Kom op hè, Jasper. Oké.
Towards the top of the climb, Hannah.
Jongens,
This is exceptional because Martin Martens has been holding on to this power up from 2 arches ago, and just take a look at the difference. But here comes Meding the German. He's going to tip him on the line. That was close.
It was. I think he didn't quite make it. In fact, Martins it was. Climbing prowess who took maximum points there for Toyota. 10 points in the bad. Good points there for Beast Mode Powerboy Roads with Martin. But look at that. Kaminski and
Lennart 4, Jasper 3.
Okay, winning is important, but Hannah, if you can actually get a couple of riders up there, that's when you really start to bag multiple points, don't you?
It's a
Zo goed mogelijk recupereren nu. Hè. Dubbele afdaling. Eerst dit stuk en dan zelfs komt er nog een afdaling. Hè.
To top up your accumulation of points. It's a perfect strategy, and it's something that Coalition Alpha have done in the previous intermediate sprint. We saw Ava Synergy do that very well, the Belgian squad. And you know, Lou said before, they've been having a little bit of a chat between the women's team, the men's team. You know, watch out for them. They're probably going to race a lot more aggressively, and that's what we've just seen there in that intermediate sprint from Coalition Alpha.
Indeed, and as you were talking there, Hannah, on that very fast descent, the descent that way up is actually, it's far steeper. It's a shorter ascent and descent. Therefore, the gradients are steeper to gain the same sort of height, or exactly the same height, and a lot of...
Pardon nog een beetje. En Jasper ook. Ik ga zien wie dat is. Ja, Rinus moet muten.
More anvils being dropped just to add a little bit of momentum. Turgle's at the front. If there's one rider that's going to suit a circuit like this, it's Lennart Turgles with that road endurance that he's got as well. He's a real punchy rider. He can sprint particularly well. He's had a win already this year. He is one of the riders that has got real ability to recover these repeated efforts. I think there's quite a few riders have already been distanced on this course so far.
I think if you look at the...
Nu gaan we terug Breakaway Bray naar de andere kant doen, Sevens. Nou, we staan op kop voor het moment. Zou niet te zot doen daar. En alles subiet op de achterkant van de skur nog een keer zetten. Hè. Tenzij dat je zo sterk bent dat je voelt dat je elke sprint mee kunt doen. Denk eraan, als je boven op de skur mee bent, dan zet het mee tot helemaal aan de finish dan. Hè. Als je daar moet lossen, dan is het over. Dus goed nadenken, de achterkant van de skur is wel gemakkelijker dan de kant dat we juist gedaan hebben.
The Cyclocross World Cup only a couple of weekends ago over in Dublin, their home Cyclocross World Cup, and so therefore
verder bijhouden. En niet panikeren op één renner die een aanvalt.
And here he is.
If you want, then here he is. Dawson is absolutely flying up this little bit of a drag. It's only a short.
Even in de afdaling redden er in groep zo terug naartoe. Hè. En er rustig, hè. Dan gaat hij direct naar beneden en door de vaart van de groep gaat hij dat niet houden. Hè. Dat is straf zijn. En dan nog. Dat is dan wel een dat we kunnen vergeten, Sevens ook al.
Is ideal. Let's bring back Lou again. We're over half distance already. Lou, we knew this race was going to be fast and furious. I can't believe we're already halfway, but a very aggressive race so far and multiple riders already distanced. And look at the gap by Dawson here, 5 seconds here.
Yeah, and that was a perfect...
We zijn nog met allemaal mee, dat is het belangrijkste voor de finishpunten. Hè. Dat gaat een doorslag geven. We staan voor de moment op kop, dus dat ziet er al goed uit. Als we nu nog goed finishen met 5, dan is dat top. Hè.
It'll be interesting to see if he can stay away. This is a tough finish for a solo rider versus the group, but he's pretty strong. So yeah, we'll see.
It certainly is a bold move here. He's got about 1,300 meters to the next intermediate sprint. It comes with 8.
De verder kun je zelfs gebruiken in die linkse bocht dat je ziet op je kaartje. Die bocht je zo helemaal door terugdraait. Dat steile stuk. Die dat je nu van voor ziet, als ze dan beginnen, dan kun je al een klein beetje... Dan moet je niet van achter aanklampen. Op zich moet je niet meesprinten als je liever alles op de volgende klim zet. Maar als je van voor hier vertrekt en ze beginnen, dan kun je een beetje anticiperen.
Then the reverse side,
Ja, de moment.
He's already on to the base and the start of the climb, and you can see that his gap is continuing to grow 1 second here, half a second there, and you take a look down. Who will be wanting to chase here? Because when we just saw...
Ja, Lennart, ga nu maar, hè, dat je toch bezig bent. Je kunt tweede worden nu, hè. Je bent nu al derde. Ja, je gaat er nog over. Opkomende man misschien. Ja. Dus niet misschien, derde denk ik. Oké, nu sparen en ze biedt alles weer op de skur, hè.
Used here, the featherweight power up being used just to trim some weight off to optimize your climbing prowess. It's the Irishman takes maximum point. Dawson takes maximum points. In second place was Power. Lennart Turgles.
Derde, 8 punten.
Showing his colours there, scoring 7 points. And this is an interesting one here. As riders maybe just go over the top. This is where we've seen those splits occurring, and it is indeed Bjorn Andreasen carrying on, Hannah, that momentum straight over the top and keeping on the pressure. And this is where we've seen the shape of this virtual peloton really start to stretch out.
This is a textbook points race move.
De steamroller die heeft hier eigenlijk geen enkele functie. Want dat is enkel op offroad en er komt niks niet meer. Die hadden kunnen houden voor de afdaling 7 als je hem nog hebt.
And
Heb je hem nog, David? Ja, houd hem dan bij. Dan kun je hem, als je hem net voor de top inzet, voordat je onder de boog gaat, dan heb je een dubbele power-up in de afdaling. Ja, dat is pas bovenop de klim. Maar je moet wel inzetten, juist voordat je onder de banner hebt. Hè. We staan tweede. 24 punten, Wahoo kol op kop. Maar geen paniek, hè. De doorslaggeving. Ik ga je zien of dat Wahoo nog al zijn mannen heeft.
These riders are right on. It really does make a little bit of a difference when you see those little thumbs up filling the back pockets of these riders, entertaining us here in Scotland tonight. But there are several riders, well, more than several riders out the back. But this is a real elite selection, as we see.
Okay, dus even op de skur nog een keer alles uit de kast. Het is een veel korter stuk en er komt eigenlijk maar één steil stukje in na 200 meter en dan vlakt dat terug een beetje meer uit. Hè. Als je mee boven bent met het eerste, dan gaat je ook mee tot on de finish. Enkel David heeft zijn power-up nog, de rest een verder zeker. Hè?
Too, because those riders who thrive and they've got a real intense punch and an intense kick, this is where they can.
Op het zicht zie ik nog maar 2 man van Wahoo kol, dus die staan wel op kop, maar die zitten er nog maar met 2 bij, denk ik. Moest wel op een rapje zien. Gewoon zien dat hier wat samen blijft. En ik zou zeggen, Arinus en Jasper, afhankelijk van hoe dat gevoel is, zelfs. Zit er nog iets in of niet?
In such quick succession and having so little time for recovery.
Indeed. This is the
Ja, Arinus, als het te moeilijk is, moeten we gewoon aanklampen nu. Hè. Zelfs aan de klim goed van voor beginnen. Jasper, ik weet niet hoe dat jij je voelt.
at the top of their game. Another attack. This is a super aggressive race so far. We've had 3 or 4 riders off the front. And again, for the second time tonight, the man in blue, the man from Movistar.
Rustig aan, hè. Is Rinus eraf? Oké, met 4 dan, hè. Over de top. De Lennart gaat mee. Wie zijn power-up al heeft ingezet, je gaat hier een nieuwe krijgen. David houdt de nieuwe bij. Maar vergeet niet dat je hem zelfs boven wel inzet, juist als je, voordat je onder de banner door hebt. Hè. Anders zet hem kwijt. Hè. En dan krijg je direct een nieuwe. Oké, de klim gaat beginnen. Achter de bocht. Een goede 1,5 minuut, denk ik. Steilste stukje 7 zal na de linkse bocht. Hè.
Try and add some more points to the tally for the French squad as he's joined by a very experienced top group here.
Dat is het steilste stukje hier. Hè. Dan heeft een klein gatje met 5 man.
So this is a brilliant group to go clear, work together and try and get to the Sker Summit itself.
Indeed. Well, as we just passed a cow on the left-hand side, just looking on in bemusement, let's bring in Lou Bates on the foot of one of the hardest.
Bij de kop blijven nu, hè. Goeie ook, kom aan, hè. Goeie jongens. Nog even wachten, hè. Als je sterk zet. Houd je sprint klaar, hè, Jasper.
Flattens out slightly during the middle section before it kicks up again. So it's really all about position.
Meeschuiven, Jasper. Oké, jongens. Als je nu erbij komt, dan kun je ineens doorzetten, hè. Kom op, hè. Het is nu de moment. Rechts een bocht. Kom aan, Lennart, die is voor u. Hop. Kom op, je hebt een gatje achter u, dus als je niet stilvalt, dan is hem voor u. Kaminski komt niet terug. Goed, Lennart, kom op, hè, kom op, hè. 1 en achter u nog. Even doorzetten. Ja, je hebt hem, denk ik. Jasper ook goed. Oké, en goed inzetten, hè. David, uw power-up voor de banner. Lennart, een groep van... Red maar door, hè. Jasper is er ook bij. Een groepje van 7 of 8 man, denk ik.
There too. And then Vujasan Kaminski scoring well.
Met 2 mee, hè.
Turek Talbot, Pardiant and Brian Duffy Jr. I tell you what, Hannah, the cream has...
Niet te zot, want zo groot zijn de gatjes niet.
Vills are now being dropped, unsurprisingly on the descent.
They are, and also a steamroller on
Jasper niet te zot, hè, want ze komen terug.
Summit South. How many riders still had a feather power-up? They've waited, held it back. They've not used it earlier on and taken and had the opportunity to use other power-ups.
Jo is ook terug. David, waar hang jij? Kom op, hè. Ah, met dat groepje erachter. Dat komt goed. Jongens, rustig houden. In dat tweede groepje zit David nog bij. Lennart, hadden we een power-up kunnen bijhouden?
1,700 meters to go. Can anybody go full on for the Clyde kicker and then go again at the finish? Let's bring in Lou Bates again. 3.2 k's to go, Lou. It's been fast, it's been furious.
Oké, jongens, nu nog Glasgow. Nog één sprint, de kikker. Denk eraan, niet alles opofferen op de kikker. Het is beter een goede eindsprint en een goede placering daar. Hè. Wel zien dat je mee zet zo wat van voor, maar niet alles opofferen voor dan 30ste te worden. Hè. Een goede eindsprint is belangrijk. Als we met 4 goed zitten, dan ziet dat er goed uit. Hè. En we hebben nog iets achter dan.
Kilometers to go, just under now. Dolbert from Saris Nopins in this group too.
Clyde kikker op komst. Links een bocht, dan onder het station door, dan rechts en dan beginnen we aan. Hè. De laatste hindernis. Probeert mee te zijn, maar op reserve. En als je ziet dat je hier of daar een klein puntje nog kunt pakken. Jasper, houd u goed in voor de eindsprint. Hè. We spelen hier de Lennart uit. Hè. De rest goed van voor blijven, maar niet forceren. Hè, maar bij de 10 eerste blijven. Oké, we gaan vertrekken. Hè. Lennart heeft nog iets in petto. Hè. Goed meeschuiven gewoon. Kom op, hè, David. Bijblijven ook, hè. Oké, jongens, gewoon van voor blijven zitten nu. Ja. Blijven zitten, hè, jongens. Kom op, hè, Lennart. Er zijn er nog met hetzelfde idee. Maar die zijn zo sterk niet als je gaat, hè. Kom op, hè. Nog één keer doortrekken hierboven. Ja, kom op, hè. Kom op, hè, Lennart. Ah, nu moet je blijven gaan, hè. Je kunt niet meer stoppen nu, hè. 1 seconde. 2 seconden. Ja, Lennart, hop, hop. Maarten schot door, hè. Kom op, en de rest even een goede sprint zetten, hè. Jasper, houd u klaar voor de sprinten, Sevens, hè. Je ook.
Is on fire in this points race. We knew he was going to thrive. We knew that he would have...
Mega nu, hè, want ze gaan beginnen op dat kniksje naar de kerk, hè. Kom op, hè, jongens, het ziet er goed uit, hè. Als we met 4 man goed eindigen hier. Die ene, dat kan geen kwaad, hè. Oké, we zitten allemaal van voor. Blijven nu, hè. Nog 2 bochten.
Jones, everybody is gearing up for the sprint now.
Kom op, hè, David. Als je nog iets zet, het is een moment nu, hè, van naar voren te komen.
There's only half a kilometer to...
Hop, 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 blijven gaan. Solo of met een groepje? Kom op, hè. Met alle 3. Kom op, hè, Jasper. Alles, hè, alles. Kom op. Top 10. Kom op. Oké, jongens, eventjes checken.
Toyota Elite e-cycling is going to take the win on the night, and there's a big gallop behind. So Martins is going to take the win. He crosses the line in first place. They shut it down to 3 seconds. It's Mading in second place. Lennart Turgels there in third. Vujasan in fourth place. But what another sensation.
Sowieso met 2, hè. Lennart derde, Jasper zevende.
But now it is the turn of our engineers, our producers, to go through the virtual abacus and tot up these points, Hannah. But a wonderful, wonderful race. And that wasn't for the faint-hearted. It's split all over the road here in Glasgow.
Jo, 20ste, dat is ook nog juist goed.
A fantastic racing course here.
David 32ste. 33ste, ook goed.
The riders, the teams raced that one. Fantastic, very, very intense. They certainly gave us some great entertainment there.
Geen probleem, je zat er nog, hè.
In each of those intermediate sprints, picking up points, a great evening for Toyota Elite, and then for him to chip off the front and continue to build on that lead that he had there, only coming down in.
Wacht even op de uitslag.
3-second marker. Fantastic performance.
Certainly was. This rider still finishing. We won't get our final points tally until all of the riders are finished. There are points across the finish line to all of the finishers. The top 80 riders will score points. As you can see, the riders that were a little bit detached, still battling to score as many points as they can, is the accumulation of points. And that's, these points races are fascinating, Hannah, aren't they? They do actually reward riders to keep. They
Oh, we gaan sowieso nog even moeten wachten, want er komen nog jongens binnen. Vermits dat puntensysteem is, moeten die allemaal binnen zijn. Een grote groep hier van een man of 20. Ik denk dat Rinus erbij zat.
They can, and a real illustration of how hard that was raced, because there's some class riders out the back here today.
I certainly agree with you, Matt. It wasn't for the faint-hearted. We saw, Teppo Lorio is coming in here, sort of 67th position. He's coming into the finish line soon. He was one of the riders who was one of our first attackers, our first sort of breakaway from that beginning. And that, as Lou said, that was certainly a predetermined plan to try and make it hard from the very, very beginning. And you just mentioned there how important.
Dat is goed, hè? Je zat erbij. Top 20.
Really comes into its own, because points go down, to 80th position. So each and every rider will score points here, and so this is where having that.
Ik heb er vertrouwen in.
Make sure you sprint for each and every placing, even if you're not in that leading group, because it could all make a difference come the end, and especially when you're totting up the tally.
And especially when you're tired and you can't go any further. But let's bring in Lou again. Lou, first up, thanks very much indeed for your insight during the race. A great individual win by Martins. He's an exceptionally strong rider. But what were your thoughts on the closing stages of the race and how it panned out from a team perspective? We haven't got the points just yet. Difficult to understand exactly what that's going to look like. But what are your thoughts on how the closing stages of today's round 5?
I mean, it just looked brutal. From the midway point, you could just see the size of the front group had just, reduced by a lot, considering the strength of this field. And I think you could see that people going along and people kind of taking a chance. I think because the bunch was getting more and more tired, there was more chance of those kind of random attacks and random moves actually working, because everyone's just on their limit. And, you don't want to be the team that are just chasing down one person, because actually the points difference there isn't that big. That being said, Martin's move.
Ik denk dat iedereen zo wat binnen is, dus ik verwacht langzaam maar zeker de punten.
Massive kudos to him for that. But yeah, I think it's going to be really tight between the teams. You saw a lot of teams like Coalition, like Abus, really stacking those points in some of those last segments. So it'll be interesting to see when the points get shown.
Indeed, well, that should be with very, very shortly. Just a reminder of the points. There was 10 points on offer for the winner of the 5 intermediate sprints, and then a lot of points on offer for the finish. So 40 points for the winner. So one would imagine that Toyota are going to have a pretty handsome points tally. But just to bring you in again, Lou, if you don't mind, while we just wait for those points, how hard is it for riders and for managers to communicate in such a furious race where there's so much going on?
It's pretty hard, and I think that's why having a DS that's not racing is actually, super, super useful. Having someone that's really calm, that can be, looking at what's happening in the race, trying to communicate with the riders. Because to be honest,
Holden Commodin heeft een eerste sprint gepakt, komt 78ste over de finish.
words come out that no one can generally understand them. So I think having somebody there just kind of overseeing everyone and just telling you what to do and telling you that your legs don't actually hurt and that you can do it, I think is really important in these circumstances.
Yeah, I agree, Lou, because as we said earlier on at the top of the show, you've got some riders who are sports directors. Matt Gardner for Saris, you've also got Daniel Pettinger for his team, and both of those riders are racing, and so how do you have that overview? It's incredible, really. I mean, it's full of admiration, but it's also a very difficult task.
Als die binnen zijn, dan is iedereen binnen.
I think it's rates at like 190 beats per minute. That's definitely not me. I'm the opposite end of that scale. So you have people that can do it, and certainly it's impressive. But yeah, certainly having someone that's not riding, who again just can be looking around, what other teams are doing, I think it's really useful from that perspective as well.
No, it's certainly. What about the formats of the Zwift Grand Prix? And how do teams adapt to the constantly changing formats? You have team time trial thrown into the mix, scratch race. We've had some real new types of points, like elimination points, which we had in the earlier stages. What's been the general feeling of the teams to this constantly evolving and shifting distances and formats? I would imagine, Lou, that it certainly keeps the teams, the managers, on their toes.
It certainly does, and it's where having a slightly larger squad of people can be really handy, because obviously you have certain courses that suit certain riders. So for the team time trial next week for the women, that's a very different effort from, say, for example, the Glasgow Crit.
Ja, hier zijn de twee laatste. Zo, dus iedereen binnen. Hopelijk kunnen we dan snel de punten zien. We hebben wel vertrouwen in, want we hebben het zeker niet slecht gedaan. Dus we stonden de hele tijd goed. We zijn ook met 4 jongens voorin gefinished. 3 in de top 20. David 33ste, dus we gaan kijken. Iedereen is binnen.
Ja,
en hier is
well, there we go.
uitslag.
Just
En,
on cue. Thank
moet
you
ik
very
het nog
much.
zeggen wie dat er wint?
Rather timely, wasn't it? And look at
4
that.
op 5 voor
Abus
Synergy.
Synergy take the points.
139 punten.
139
voor
points.
Next,
Second place to Next
121 punten.
Esports powered by
Coalition,
Short. They were
118 punten. Het
121.
zijn
Coalition
altijd,
Alpha
ja,
thought they were going to be up
altijd
there, and they
dezelfde
certainly
drie
were.
ploegen
Third place
die
for them
tegen elkaar
with
vechten.
118. And then followed by
Maar we
Beast
lopen
Mode
dus,
powered by Rose
weer
in
7
fourth.
punten
Fifth
terug
to
uit op
Toyota
Next.
Elite.
Next die
E-cycling
tweede,
was the
die
team
blijven
of the
tweede,
man that
maar we
won
gaan
individually
terug,
today.
19 punten
Just
voorsprong
showing
nu in het
that
klassement.
it's not necessarily about the winning that gets your team up there. Good ride tonight by Movistar. I think they'll take heart from.
Het klassement zal er zo dadelijk ook aankomen. Hoi, 4 op 5. Wat er ook gebeurt, ik denk dat we gerust mogen stellen dat we het regelmatigste team zijn in deze Grand Prix. Nog 2 wedstrijden voor de boeg. lastige wedstrijden wel. En de laatste wedstrijd dubbele punten. Hopelijk wordt dat geen domper, want hoe oneerlijk het ook is, we kunnen daar niets aan veranderen aan die dubbele punten. We wachten nog even op de uitslag, op de stand, mijn excuses. Normaal gaan we van 11 punten voorsprong op Next terug naar 18 dan nu. En dan gaan we weer een 35 punten bij tekenen. Bijna 20 punten voor vandaag, dus dat is toch wel heel knap. Een mooie allround prestatie. Daar kwam het ook op aan. Ik zag bijvoorbeeld Holden Como, dat is de man van Saris Nopins, die pakte de eerste sprint 10 punten, maar die kwam dan allerlaatste binnen op plek 78. Dat brengt niks op. U ziet het dan ook, 16e.
Are looking good as we head properly into the second half of the Zwift Grand Prix. We should have the points for the overall with us in a few minutes time. We certainly know who's going to be leading. It's going to be Aber Synergy topping the rankings, increasing their lead at the top, and we will get that to you as soon as possible. Wahoo Lacole, who were in second, only 7th place today. Next who were third. Solid second place by them, so we could see, Hannah, a couple of little bit of movement inside the top 4 or 5, which just adds to the intrigue as we head into the final few races.
It certainly does, and it's always nice to see that little shake-up, isn't it, and teams having, but also picking the riders that really suit each type of round, because as you were speaking about with Lou moments ago,
hebben we onze voorsprong weer kunnen vergroten. De ideale wedstrijd gereden, perfect als plan toch wel. Altijd onderweg een beetje kijken, want ja, je kan wel veel plannen, maar de wedstrijd loopt niet zo altijd zoals je ze verwacht dat ze gaat lopen. Maar al bij al is dat allemaal heel goed verlopen voor ons. Het voorsprong, het beste team van deze winter, kan nu wel gezegd worden, wat er ook gebeurt in de toekomst. Het blijft jammer van die eerste wedstrijd die geannuleerd werd. En dan het daar nog op toevoegen van de dubbele punten voor de laatste wedstrijd, wat dat dan nog eens dubbel oneerlijk maakt. En hier krijgen we dan, ja, we kregen het klassement, maar ze gaan eventjes een kort interview doen. Dat is belangrijk om te weten nu eigenlijk. Ik zou liever de punten zien. Langs dat we die wel ongeveer weten, maar ik zou ook de stand willen zien tegenover plek 3 en 4 en zo. Coalition derde wordt dat voor ons weer een voordeel, want ik denk dat die of 5e stonden, dus die pakken weer punten weg van de derde. Dus enkel Next blijft nog iets of wat in de buurt en voor de rest gaan we onze voorsprong uitbreiden. Fors uitbreiden. Meteen zien hoe Bates gepasseerd is. Dus dan zijn ze bezig over de ploegentijdrit voor de vrouwen volgende week. Daar hebben we nu niet veel aan. Ja, bye bye Lou. En dan nu graag de stand. Ja, daar is die. 121 punten. Next 103, dus dat wordt terug een mooie kloof. Coalition derde met 93, dus dat gaat al bijna richting 30 punten. En dan Wahoo Lacole 91. En dan voor de rest denk ik dat er nog weinig rekenschap moet meegegeven worden vanaf plek 5. Ronde 6 en 7 staat ons nog te wachten, maar die zijn dus voor januari, als ik het goed heb, 11 en 18 januari of zoiets. 2 weken na elkaar. 2 puntenrace, een epische puntenrace of zoiets, is ronde 6. We gaan dat nog allemaal moeten bekijken in de manual, wat dat wil zeggen en hoe de puntenverdeling daar zit. Ik weet wel dat het, als ik het juist heb, het in Harrogate is. En Harrogate is toch geen makkelijk parcours. In ieder geval, ik dank jullie allemaal voor het kijken en voor het supporteren natuurlijk. En ik zie jullie graag terug voor de heren in januari dan. We blijven waarschijnlijk ook nog volgende week de vrouwen uitzenden. Dat is dan de ploegentijdrit. En dan gaan ook zij in de rust voor dit jaar en opschuiven naar januari. Bedankt voor het kijken en waarschijnlijk tot volgende week bij de vrouwen. En anders tot in januari bij de heren. Bye bye.
Open eye, feel the waves cut through me, hypnotized by the sounds I'm breathing in. Hold tight.